John.
Eric. How are you?
That was definitive and a question.
Oh.
I am running on some grumpiness right now. It has been the year of water problems in the house. Water-related problems in the house. My kitchen sink.
I'm sorry.
Has decided not to drain.
You know, you don't really want your sink to be right only.
No. And everything's connected to it, so it can't run the dishwasher. Anyways. So I pull it all apart, and it's somewhere in the wall. It's not anywhere I can reach with the meager tools that I had. I even ran to the hardware store to try to grab a different type of snake, and that one didn't clear it out either. So,
and I'm out.
Yeah. So, if there is banging at some point, there is potentially a plumber who either will show up tonight if it's before the end of his shift or first thing in the morning. So,
I am sorry.
So we just started this podcast and I just started rambling. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute. How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was good. I'm actually getting ready to welcome family. Actually tonight. They should have landed at the airport about 45 minutes ago. So quick, record the podcast before they get home. But this happens to be my parents' 50th wedding anniversary week. And like 2 years ago, long before COVID, we had planned a big shindig, but that kind of put a kibosh on that. We had planned to plan, but then a couple months ago, it was looking like we would be able to be, vaccinated and maybe get together just as a family, and so that's what we've planned. So we are. We're getting together and going camping for the Memorial Day weekend, and like my sister and her family are flying in and renting an RV, and we're gonna have a 5-day weekend. So nice. I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be good. And I have 2 brothers and a sister, so they're all flying in. It's pretty much just immediate family, but that'll be a nice weekend. Looking forward to that. I still have a whole bunch of stuff to get ready to go, though. So that's also why we're recording on Tuesday instead of Wednesday, is because tomorrow night I will have a house full of vaccinated family members, which is awesome. So that's cool.
Yeah, fun.
I guess the other 2 things. So I had a little bit of bee stuff this weekend, but it was kind of a fun thing in the sense that there was a new beekeeper couple that in the club here that had asked for a mentor on our website, our forums, a few weeks ago, and so they I texted. They sent me an email this past week and asked if I could come over, and I'm like, I'm super busy. I am super busy, but I'm going to get in my hives on Saturday because that was the day this weekend that was looking good. And so if you want to come over, I can answer a ton of your questions. And so they did, and it was nice to meet them, and seemed like nice. Really cool beekeepers, and the I don't know, the beekeeping family, so to speak, is pretty close, and it's fun to talk about bees. I could talk about bees for hours, so that's cool. And then actually, I guess 2 other minor things I'll just like run past. The first of which is I have a gopher in our garden, and so I am on the hunt, and so far I am failing, and I feel like Bill Murray.
Caddyshack.
I don't know. So I'm.
Now they're not in the raised beds, are they?
Yes, they would be in the raised beds.
Now I thought you put something underneath the beds to prohibit gophers.
In the spirit
am I twisting a knife?
Dumb,
Sorry.
I put stuff underneath the walkways so that the weeds didn't come up and I didn't have to weed in them, but I did not put anything underneath the beds. So, Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So working on that. So we'll see. And then the other cool thing, the last cool thing, and then we can actually get into security topics. So I think I said last week that we had a cow and our calf.
Yes.
And so my wife and I have been going out and milking every night, pretty much. She's had to do some stuff without me because I have like other things, but sometimes. But so far we haven't been able to keep any of it yet, or we haven't kept any of it yet. It's been mostly like just kind of keep ahead, get the the colostrum and stuff out, but it's looking really, really nice and clean and good. And so tonight was the first night we were like, okay, let's keep this and give it a shot. So I have cheese making upstairs as we speak, and of 1 gallon and another 1.5 gallons. Just she had put it in to pasteurize when I came downstairs here to record. So we will have ample quantities of milk, seeing as that's from half of her, the half that the calf is not drinking on. And yeah, a Jersey cow will give you 5 pretty easy 5 gallons of milk a day or more. And
good thing you have family coming over.
One family cannot drink that much milk, just FYI. So not that we'll get that much because we're only doing half, but still 2.5 gallons is a lot. Anyway, but it's cool because the cheese should be done and ready. Just like soft cheese, should be ready to take, and we'll take it out camping with us. So that'll be awesome. That'll be totally awesome. So anyway, that's fun stuff. Okay, how about a topic? What'd you bring tonight?
So you remember the old Mac versus PC commercials? Justin Long and John Hodgman.
Oh, totally.
They were hilarious. Right?
I loved those.
They were great. And I remember the one about, or do you remember the one about where John Hodgman is kind of sniffling and coughing and wheezing, and the point of that commercial was Macs don't get viruses.
Right.
Like PCs do. And anyone who knows or has been following that knows that that's not true, right? Macs get viruses too.
Oh, yeah.
But Apple has famously refused to even acknowledge in anything that is a thing.
Yes.
So one of the fun things that has come out in the court case between Epic and Apple around App Store and Apple's App Store policies is part of a testimony that one of the executives at Apple came out and said that I'm quoting here, we have a level of malware on the Mac that we don't find acceptable, which basically, to anyone's knowledge really, is the first time Apple has admitted publicly that bad stuff happens on the Mac too.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. I did not see this article, and
yeah,
I am surprised that this came out.
Yeah. So this is actually an article by Malwarebytes. They do Mac antivirus software, Mac software for the Mac. And if you've also been paying attention at all to Apple and what they've been doing, they've introduced notarization. They've got XProtect. Yes, XProtect. They have been doing a lot of things to try to improve the security of the Mac. So clearly, if you're trying to improve the security of something, you're acknowledging there's some kind of problem. But
implicit,
for the most part, yeah, and some of the things that also is kind of funny is that Apple, in those Mac versus PC commercials, Apple made fun of is you remember, was it Windows 7? That popped up the user acceptance. I accept that. Yes, I approve this app to run. What was
UAC.
I don't remember what it was.
UAC.
UAC, where Microsoft would continually pop up so many messages saying, "Hey, I'm going to run this. Is this okay?" That it was kind of like the warnings that this causes cancer in California. Everything has the warning. You just click OK and continue.
Yeah.
Well, Apple, if you're on a Mac, now pops up all sorts of messages. Hey, this app wants access to your contacts. This app wants like they've been doing on the phone.
Sure.
They do it on the Mac now. So same kind of stuff. It's couched in privacy, but it's also security related. So I thought it was just a fun article to actually get on the record an Apple executive admitting there was a need for some kind of antivirus software for the Mac, to the point they even have a framework now to better support third-party antivirus software, as opposed to letting antivirus companies write their own kernel drivers and various things. So there you go. That's my topic for this week.
Not just any executive, Mr. Federighi himself.
No. Yes. Air Force One himself.
Air Force One, thanks. I had forgotten that. He seems like he's a super technical executive. Yeah.
Yeah. I've liked listening to his any of his
I've watched a bunch of WWDC keynotes. That he has led. All right, very cool. Yeah, that's good. The ironic thing for this is that my first topic is about Mac malware as well.
Segue.
It's
almost like we planned it.
Yeah, please don't think that.
You would be wrong if you think that.
You would be wrong if you thought that. So this I threw in Slack a few days ago, I think. But this was Apple fixes macOS 0-day abused by XCSSET malware. So I don't think I remembered hearing about this a few months back, but there were a couple of interesting things I liked in this article. The first was that it was discovered in August 2020. This is the malware XCSSET, but hidden inside malicious Xcode projects hosted on GitHub. So
I remember talking about those.
Did we talk about this particular thing? I don't have a good enough memory.
I don't know exactly this one, but I do seem to recall talking about the build process. Yeah.
So one of the things in here, it says, so upon initial discovery, one of the most notable features was that it reportedly utilized 2 zero-day exploits. And this analysis was done by Jamf, Jamf, which does Mac and iPhone management software. But the other thing they said was that they found a third 0-day during an analysis of this older threat, which has been recently updated to attack M1 based macOS systems. So I don't know I didn't actually click through and figure out what's the difference for an M1 system, other than, maybe they recompiled something, but I don't think there's much surface area that's different from an API level between the older Intel-based systems and the M1 systems. But the other thing about this, so it says what this was, kind of hearkening back to you for your permission pop-up dialog. I didn't know you were going to mention that a minute ago. So they abused this first CVE or the CVE to search for IDs of apps that have a dangerous permission program or a dangerous permission. So access to your photos or access to a particular directory or something like that. And then plant a malicious applet inside one of those legitimate apps so that they could perform malicious actions, but without getting the pop-up. So it's kind of, on Windows, you might call this parasitic infector, where I don't know that this is technically that, because that means you're injecting yourself into another legit process, perhaps. But basically, not on its own, but taking advantage of running inside the context of another app. that already has permissions to do what you want it to.
Inception.
Malware Inception. There you go. So it says, so this is, the whole point of this is that this came up as a patch. Apple released a patch to fix it. And so, of course, even though this initial vector is pretty niche because it's looking at, it's targeted at developers, somebody who's going to sync something from GitHub, since the exploit is now public because there's a fix available, the concern is, of course, that other attackers might leverage that information now. Well, not might, will leverage that information now and attempt to reuse the same thing. So update, bump to Big Sur 11.4. That might be. I might have to double check and see if that's going to get backported because I'm still not on Big Sur. I have continued to wait, but it's getting to where they're 4 patches in. I'm probably safe to move.
But they're going to have whatever's Big Sur next here this summer.
This is true. It's been almost, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. It's been almost a year. Well, yep. They better release a pretty stable version because this is pretty bad. Oh, I am sorry. I'm minor complaining about my computers here, but my home computer, I guess what I'm recording on right now, is dangerously out of disk space because my photo library is just gigantic, and I've currently got it, syncing originals here so that I can back them up into another backup, mechanism. Mm-hmm. So I keep having to find and delete a gig here and a gig there, and I'm going to have to get a more permanent solution here very shortly.
I think you're going to need,
it's kind of driving me crazy,
10 gig free just to upgrade. So just FYI.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, there's no way I'm upgrading as I sit at the moment. Anyway, okay, all right. Enough of that. That is very boring and nobody cares. So my second article is a super long article. Did you see or read this one?
I did not.
This is the full story of the stunning RSA hack can finally be told. So this is an article in Wired. It is super long, super duper long. So it's a bit of a read, but in 2011, here's the subtitle at least. In 2011, Chinese spies stole the crown jewels of cybersecurity, stripping protections from firms and government agencies worldwide. Here's how it happened. So basically, a bunch of people involved in this incident in 2011 were bound by 10-year non-disclosure agreements. Now that those agreements have expired, this journalist interviewed a whole bunch of them, and like some of the sort of inside scoop is coming out. So this is quite the article. And I remember hearing about this at the time, but I was kind of, I guess, not paying quite as much attention to some of these things. I mean, that was a decade ago. But what they did was, this was a great article. So they they detected the intrusion relatively early enough that the attackers were still in the network, actively attempting to move laterally, find vulnerable systems, etc. So they were playing a cat and mouse game with them, trying to cut them off, seeing what they were doing, detecting a new thing, cutting them off, etc. But before they were able to get them fully out of the network, the attackers were able to get into what was a hypothetically air-gapped network, except for one machine that had to be able to get in to generate seeds for the Secure ID, RSA Secure ID keys, Secure ID tokens, was generated on an air-gapped network, except that there was one connection from a manufacturing system that was able to pull them off to, basically burn CDs for sending to customers, so that customers could run their own verification servers, something like that. And so this one particular analyst, Lethem, saw the activity and that they'd spent tons of time extracting these files, figured out where they were connecting them to, FTPing the files to, saw the stolen username and password that was being used to connect to the FTP server hosted by Rackspace, it says. So he actually logged on, FTP'd on to the server where all of these seed files were, was like, oh crap. And then even though it was, quote unquote, probably maybe problematic, because you're not like, he tried to delete the keys, the data that was out there, and got a file not found. Like basically
just missed it.
Just missed him. In the journalist effort or analogy, it was he grabbed grabbed at the coat just as the attacker escaped out the door. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch more data in here about what they did. So the CEO did, chose to go public, be maybe not quite as open as like full open, but was, hey, we had this problem, and called. They said they spent weeks calling every single one of their customers one by one and walking them through ways to increase their security. But 2 months later, a major defense contractor was breached, and the defense contractor, at least, said that it was because they had whoever was using stolen RSA tokens, and that they were able to, even after they were able to confirm that the employee whose two-factor auth was being used still had the token in their possession, replace their token, disable the other one, and then they could still see the tokens from the old disabled key, valid tokens, would have been valid had it not been revoked, still getting hit. Like, it was clear that whoever the attacker was had
was able to cycle through
and knew how to generate the secure ID passwords.
Mm-hmm.
As did two other defense contractors not long after.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there was a comment. So I'll just a couple more things about this one. So the first of which is that here, I'm going to read this quote. The NSA, for its part, has never had much doubt about RSA's role in subsequent break-ins. In a briefing to the Senate Armed Services Committee a year after the RSA breach, NSA's director, General Keith Alexander, said that the RSA hack, quote, led to at least one U.S. defense contractor being victimized by actors wielding counterfeit credentials, and that the Department of Defense had been forced to replace every RSA token it used. So,
I remember having that little widget at work and would carry it around with me.
I had one too.
And then we just stopped using them, and I guess I didn't remember why. Now I remember.
I don't know that I ever put two and two together. But yeah.
Yeah.
Went to soft tokens.
Yep.
Was that about the time? I guess it must have been.
Seems like it.
Yeah. Nice. So this article, there's a whole bunch I skipped over. It's a great read. You should follow the link in here. But the article says regarding, let's see, I'll just read this, I guess. Lethem sees the lessons of RSA's supply chain compromise. Oh, that's the whole point. This is similar to the SolarWinds supply chain.
Right.
But Leatham sees this lessons in RSA's supply chain compromise in starker terms than even his colleague Bill Duane. It was a glimpse of just how fragile the world is. It's a house of cards during a tornado warning. So, yes.
That's the internet for you.
That's the internet. Well, it's many things. I'm reminded of that XKCD cartoon that is, all modern architecture. I don't know if you remember that one where it has this whole huge, modern architecture, huge stack of, castle. But like, on the bottom of it, like, right near the basement, there's like a single tiny little brick that everything else is built on top of. And there's an arrow pointing it to it. It's like, one component maintained by a single person in Nebraska since 2001.
That's right.
Something like that. I don't know. It's a great XKCD. So
what's funny is it's true.
It's not just a kernel of truth.
No. There's more than a nugget of truth in that one.
It's a whole ear of corn. Fun. All right. Well, there you go. There's a couple things there. How about something fun tonight?
Well, my something fun is all about taxes.
Taxes
which you may think,
are not fun.
Why is taxes fun? Well, I kind of combined a bunch of things, like because this year they had pushed back tax day. Usually it's April 15th. It was last week,
May 17th
for the U.S. this year, May 17th. So, a little over a week ago. And so this is an article that goes through, for a couple reasons. I thought of this. Maybe this should be a security thing and not necessarily a fun thing, but I found the end hilarious. So basically, this is the Biden administration now proposing that any cryptocurrency transfers over $10,000 must be reported to the IRS. So one of the hints to this is maybe this will help the government get insight into companies that are extorted to pay ransomware, because all ransomware goes over cryptocurrency, essentially.
Yeah.
And so would provide some additional incentives to not pay ransomware if you know you're going to now also have to report that to the government and then pay taxes on it. I'm sure that's not the only reason. But it's an interesting article just kind of around how it's centered around cryptocurrency and taxes and IRS and ransomware, and how they believe with the $2 trillion cryptocurrency market, they could bring in massive amounts of additional revenue by just applying better reporting and taxes on cryptocurrencies.
Existing rules.
Existing stuff. Which is exactly what cryptocurrencies were initially invented to what's the word I'm looking for? Not
dodge,
bypass, dodge, get around said rules because of the. Thank you. Circumvent, I think, was the word I was looking for. But my favorite part of the entire article was the end, because it talks about funding for the IRS and the investment plan. Well, apparently this investment plan would finally replace the IRS's 1960s era computer architecture with some new stuff. The IRS is the only federal agency with computers that run on the antiquated, common business-oriented language COBOL system. The death of COBOL is finally nigh, apparently, at least in the federal government. So,
wow,
that's my something fun for this week.
Okay, that's maybe
kind of fun.
It's kind of fun. COBOL,
it's funny,
yeah.
All right.
That is a language that I have not programmed in. I think I might have said on the podcast at some point that one of my first projects out of grad school, ironically enough, was interfacing with a system written with Fortran. So I was doing parallel programming in C star, which was kind of a custom C language for supercomputers, but interfacing with Fortran for matrix ops. Anyway, so I've done Fortran, but I have not done COBOL. I've never done Fortran. I've never done COBOL. All right. Well, my something fun this week is actually, so I evidently have 2 Wired articles. I must have read a bunch of Wired this week. But this was, again, a long article about COVID-ish, kind of about COVID. It says the teeny tiny scientific screw up that helped COVID kill. And basically this is a deep dive into...
I don't like the title.
Yeah.
The title is very morbid.
Yeah, right? So, but this is like a deep dive into a little bit about scientific jargon and a bit of the telephone game, right? So when something's misquoted or misattributed, and then that is, and that is, and that is, getting to the source of why would people say this thing that is totally not true. And so this is, it starts with a scientist who who is an expert basically at particles, airborne particles, the impacts of air pollution, it says, but then, and the World Health Advisor, or World Health Organization totally believed her data about soot and ash, the particles from smokestacks and tailpipes, but did not appear to believe that the laws of physics did not apply to virus particles of the same size. And that so the quote is, now though the WHO's advisors seem to be saying those same laws didn't apply to virus-laden respiratory particles. To them, the word airborne only applied to particles smaller than 5 microns. Trapped in their group-specific jargon, the 2 camps on Zoom literally couldn't understand each other. So this article is all about, how did they, and this is back last March, April, early, well, maybe I guess it would be late spring, early summer, try to convince the WHO and the government that infection could have been airborne, not just contact. And the thing here is that, so it goes through a whole bunch of stuff that she had done around looking at and seeing, this distinction between droplets and aerosols at 5 microns, which is certainly a unit, but it doesn't mean that there can't be droplets larger than that. It just, physics is complicated when it's not like every single droplet is the exact same size, and conditions, air, wind, interior temperature, like all sorts of things can affect it. But that number of 5 microns was used all over the place. And this said, by the definition underway, any infectious particle smaller than 5 microns in diameter is an aerosol. Anything bigger is a droplet. And then, so, let's see. So she's very busy trying to figure out what to do. She consulted this other person that's quoted in the article and stuff, but essentially they brought on a grad student to go find out where is this 5 micron thing coming from, because the initial researcher Morowaska couldn't figure out what it was. So they bring on a grad student and basically give her a mission, figure out where this is. And so it's like, it says, the clues. So she gives, Katie all of the clues that they had unearthed so far that were, quote, layered like an archaeology site with shards that might make up a pot. So the grad student digs in and starts trying to figure out. And essentially, so this is another quite long article, but it's really cool. Essentially, it turns out there were a bunch of experiments in the 40s and 50s that came down to a researcher that proved for the first time that a human-born infection could be airborne. And this researcher, Wells, did it by basically infecting guinea pigs with measles, and then later on doing working at a VA hospital in Baltimore about with tuberculosis. So, and the experiments that they had to do in order to figure this out, the basically it says like public health authorities were skeptical and refused. So, essentially this Wells narrowed down his experiment to prove, like basically demonstrating they took the exhaust air from a tuberculosis ward, vented it to where the guinea pigs were, and then, did a control group and a group with UV lights to kill germs in the air. And basically, the guinea pigs with the UV lights stayed healthy. The others got tuberculosis. But it turns out that for tuberculosis, it happens to be that the tuberculosis particles, the ones that they have to worry about are the ones that get deep into the lungs. So this says tuberculosis is a curious critter. It can only invade a subset of human cells in the deepest reaches of the lungs, and most bugs are more promiscuous. And so basically 5 microns is the size of tuberculosis particles that have to get all the way down in. And some of the early studies talked about particles up to 100 microns, but with tuberculosis it was 5. And basically this 5 microns from the tuberculosis research is what was quoted out of, this branching tree of just assumptions baked in, causing in 2020 the WHO and NIH to not believe that anything larger than 5 microns could actually be airborne. Anyway, it's a great article, great research, great sort of, sleuthing and spelunking through figuring out, what causes a belief in something that is clearly wrong. So
it feels like we should have known that before 2020.
Right?
There had to be something else that came along.
The real question you should be asking yourself is, will we know that in 2023? I don't know. So,
touche.
Anyway, I don't know. So this was. In fact, I think I read this article as I was sitting in my dentist's waiting room. This sometime this week, must have been Monday, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good article." So, anyway, that's my something fun.
Well, cool.
All right,
I feel like we're done early.
We are, but I'm pretty sure my family has arrived. So if it's okay with you, we'll just wrap, and we will say, I will talk to you next week, and have a good week, everyone. Be safe.
Yep. We'll see you, John. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.